Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying that I had already recorded and uploaded this video. It's just my review, my thoughts, my commentary on the movie Jurassic Park and how much it actually means to me. Now, it got a content ID claim by Universal Pictures Global. Apparently, they're kind of like the third party company that is in charge of looking for copyrights on on the behalf of Universal Studios. I don't agree with what they claimed, but because all the clips were compiled by myself, but maybe there's something because I'm not really familiar with the copyright laws and all that. Anyhow, I'm gonna skip over that part and let's get back to again what is a fifth recording of this video. All right, Jurassic Park. It was originally released in 1983, and I was around year like 4 or 5. It was a magical experience. I mean, you're a small child, small kid, and you see these dinosaurs that the pictures are like these gigantic creatures that once walked the face of the earth, right? And when you see Jurassic Park as a kid, I mean, part of the magic is in that one shot near the beginning where they arrive on the Jeep when once Dr. Grant and like the other characters are visiting or arriving the island, to be more specific, and when they turn around to see not what on the road but what's on the side of the road at a distance, and they see this gigantuous. I mean, and this is like more enormous than dinosaurs or any other. I mean, mammals or like any other creature that exists today on land. And you see this brontosaurus stand up on its 2 feet, grab the leaves that are on the very top of the tree, and then come back down with a slam. That is amazing. I mean, that shot, that same emotion, that same kind of, excitement, that sense of wonder, that sense of awe, that is the same expression, not only on the characters' faces, but as a child. At least for me, it was magical. And I didn't really get the subplots or the actual plots of the whole series until later on, until like I rewatched them when I was older. But still, the movies themselves, and not just the first movie, all the rest of the series has been the same. That you see the new dinosaurs that are introduced, you see the old ones as well, and you get this sense of wonder that it's in the modern world. You don't see them, but it's somewhere out there. And it's just a movie, right? But still, you do get that sense of, wow, it could be somewhere in this virgin island, out of in the middle of nowhere. But anyhow, if we go way back to kind of what Jurassic Park is, the whole series itself has kind of like this kind of pattern of how they go. I mean, they have a formula. So you start off with kind of like this reason of not only that, you see the new dinosaurs that are there. So I know that, for the first movie everything is new, but I think down the second one they introduced the Stegosaurus, and then they had like the pterodactyls. I mean, they had like new dinosaurs that weren't really present in the first movie. And oh boy, I mean, especially that chase scene with the, I don't remember their names, but they have kind of like like their skull is what they use on the top of their head to their under cranium to actually either attack or do something. But that set aside, then you have a sequence of events of they're at risk, they're running for their life, and then um, they have their moments of rest that they can actually breathe. But then again, they have to react because again they're in danger. They're going to be attacked. They're going to be eaten. Some do, some die, some don't. Um, and then all this culminates with the ending of the movie, which has a mighty roar. Okay, that was terrible, but you have that roar that it's iconic roar from the T-Rex, right? And then you have like this scenery of as it pans out, or either like leaving the island, or you know you're looking at what is being left behind, even though it's in the present day. Well, back then, present day. And so that is, it is magical when you're a kid. And even today, I do, if you do ask yourself, well, does it still hold up? Well, let me just go through the plot of this first movie, Jurassic Park, where the magic began. And so we start off with a scene in which the kind of like the hunter, or like the people that they hired for the park, are reining in this dinosaur in this large cage, and they're having a hard time kind of controlling it, and then something goes wrong in which the cage isn't going in exactly, it's not locking in, and so the dinosaur is able to grab one of the workers and actually eat them. And the more they shoot, they doesn't seem to help, because they still get eaten in the end. Well, a few of the workers. Then it pans out over to the archaeologist, Dr. Grant, and then the other doctor, I forget her name. She's also important for the story. But they make their unraveling in Utah, I think it was, this fossil, and then he gets called in, and apparently there's tourists for some reason, but it's basically they did this ultrasound technique to see what's on the ground, and they find the fossilized skeleton of a velociraptor. And then Dr. Grant goes into like this whole foreshadowing explanation of velociraptors, what they think, that they use their claws to open up their prey, but then they also kind of attacked from the sides, and then, well, one was in front of you, kind of distracting you from everything else, and then they would attack not as individuals but as a group, that sort of thing. How do they know this? Who knows? I mean, it's anthropology or archaeology. I don't know. But either way, I mean, um, then this millionaire, also forget his name. He actually arrives there, and he makes a mess with the helicopter, and in essence just tells him, "Hey, I want to offer you um, an opportunity to come to my island, Isla Nubar, uh, Isla being island. Nubar, it's not really like a word, but it's a name, so well, leave it as that. And he does convince them to go over to the island to look at the dinosaurs and see if he endorses his park in a way. And well, they do already the island, and that's, like I said, when they go into this scene where he sees the dinosaur first time. He sees the brontosaurus, but not only that, he looks over to the side, like farther away, and there's a lake where it's like a very huge water hole. So you have like the different dinosaurs drinking water, and that's like more eye-opening, because it's, oh, not just one dinosaur, there's actually a whole diversity of dinosaurs. Um, the whole premise of how they did that was that, and it's kind of weird, but bear with me. They get the blood samples mainly from mosquitoes, who back then bit the dinosaurs. The blood is still inside them, and for some, if they were lucky, those mosquitoes got kind of like in kind of buried in this amber from or sap from the trees, and so because they're inside this sap that got hardened over time, then they didn't actually degrade, and so they're able to collect blood samples. And the way that they kind of replicate the DNA is using the DNA of a frog, who is apparently like a close relative. And I mean, maybe it's just kind of like amphibians that might be the closest to dinosaurs, and so they chose the frog just because it's easier than compared to, I don't know, like a turtle or something. And at any rate, that's how they kind of did do it. And because of the hermaphroditic nature of frogs, that they can turn when needed from males to females and vice versa, they have all the dinosaurs be female. So there's that. But then things go wrong. I mean, when they're doing the tour, um, one of the guys that work there, Dennis, he's actually been hired by another company to infiltrate and kind of steal the blood samples for this other company so that they can also do the same and be a competition. And Dennis, he kind of compromises the whole park by shutting off the electricity, saying, "Oh, it's just a routine maintenance. It just has to reboot and all of this." While he's actually deactivated the security system and goes for the blood samples, which he does get. Very cool. In the barber soul, like this shaving cream bottle can canister, whatever, and he does try to get away. There's a storm, and so he's trying to make his way over to the dock so like he can leave on the boat, but he doesn't really make it. Of course, this is where I say, it's something bad happens, and then something good, well, not good, but rest and all that. Um, and in this case, well, he got eaten. Yeah, so that was that. Of course, the samples never make it out of the island. So, what ends up happening is because Dennis had deactivated uh, all forms of electricity in the island, not just security wasn't working, but also the security fences that had electrical shocks also weren't working. And so the T-Rex actually makes his first appearance, her first appearance, and makes a mess of things. So he attacks the cars where the children, who are this billionaire's grandchildren, as well as like Dr. Grant and like the rest of the guests that went. So they get attacked by a T-Rex and they kind of go off. And during the movie, they're trying to find each other back, but they always encounter like a dinosaur, and then either they're being chased because of a stampede, or they're actually trying to eat them alive. But then there's moments of rest where, all right, they're in a safe place. But then again, you go into the same routine of they're in danger, and then they make it out, but they're in danger again. And so once Dr. Grant and the children who had been separated by everybody else, they make their way back to the tourist center, and it turns out the velociraptors had been kind of sneaking in on them. They were chasing them, and so while Dr. Grant is looking for the rest, the children are hunted by velociraptors. And there's this kind of like cool scene in which they go to the kitchens of the tourist center, and then they're kind of hiding inside the cabinets, and then they make it out. And then the youngest, a boy, he runs into the freezer, and the velociraptor, being not familiar with this, because apparently they can open doors. Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but he runs into the freezer, gets back out really quick. The velociraptor slips when he goes in, when she goes in, and so the kid actually is able to close the door and then lock it and leave. And so they get chased around in the tourist center. They get rejoined by everybody else, well, almost everybody else. And I say almost because the grandfather, who is a billionaire, as well as Malcolm, who is another guest, he has this cool thing I'll mention a little bit later, but they had left to go for like a mode transportation so that they can get out. And yeah, basically they're about to be eaten by velociraptors when the T-Rex shows up, and it becomes a fight. It's a really epic fight between velociraptors and the T-Rex. They jump on her, and she just bites them and then throws them around. And then once the T-Rex wins, you have that mighty roar, which is okay because now it's the end of the film and everybody makes it to the helicopter and they fly away. into the sunset. Now, I'm just gonna make a quick note on Malcolm, because Malcolm, he's played by what's his name, Gold Bomb, or I forget, but either way, uh, it's his character is kind of interesting because he does foreshadow quite a bit, not just for that movie but for the entire series, and that is that there's this scene where they're in the vehicles, they're kind of touring around the park, and Ian, that's his name, Ian Malcolm. Yeah. Well, he he has a PhD in chaos or something like that. Anyways, so what he explains while at the same time flirting with the female archaeologist, Doctor, what was her name? I don't know. Hmm. But when Malcolm is explaining how chaos works, he does say nothing happens the same way twice, kind of like a drop of water. You can see where that drop of water falls and where it slides down or where it goes to. If you place that same drop of water again, just because of simply as the air is different, the position of the surface where there is different. Um, the surface is now has a little bit more moisture because of that initial drop of water. So that changes the direction. And so he puts a drop of water on Dr. Sattler. That's her name. Uh, so he puts a drop of water on her hand, on the dorsal side, which is the back of your hand. It falls on one side. When he puts the second drop, it goes to the other side. So it doesn't go on the same path as the first drop. And that's kind of like the same thing. Things do not happen twice the same way. And so the same way with dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, there was a natural event, and that meant their extinction. But now you bring back the dinosaurs, what is going to prevent? There's not going to be that same natural disaster that's going to extinct the dinosaurs again, right? So now you have that issue in which, okay, you have dinosaurs, but now you have humans that weren't there before. What is going to happen? Are the dinosaurs going to eat the humans? Are the humans going to hunt down the dinosaurs? What is going to happen? You don't know. So was it a good idea? Of course not. Now the video's a little bit dragged on, but for me this movie was amazing because as a child, it's dinosaurs, but you see them on the screen, and back then in 1993, special effects weren't that far advanced. I mean, Steven Spielberg had been doing amazing work with Jaws and E.T. and all these movies, but then for Jurassic Park, they actually used a mixture between real life and CGI. Not CGI how we know it today, but they did implement a little bit of CGI. So the dinosaurs do look amazing. You can tell they're fake, of course, but it's still an amazing thing. It's still an amazing movie to watch. The plot, you don't understand it until you're older. You don't really catch on to it. Where yes, they create this, but there's a little bit of corporate espionage. There's a little bit of, you know, Dr. Wu, who is our researcher who clones the dinosaurs. He is also kind of like this infiltrated agent who's working for someone else, not just for the person who owns Jurassic Park. So there's that kind of background plot where it's present, but because you're so enamored by the dinosaurs, you don't really pay attention to it. At least I didn't. For me, everything from the scenery, the dinosaurs, the dinosaur designs, I should say, the music. I mean, that music, I heard it so much. All these things make it an amazing movie. To me, it does hold up even today. Even today, it still holds up. All right. I don't have anything much else to say. Like I said, initially this kind of review commentary video had been flagged for content ID by Universal Pictures Global. I do not know for a reason. It's kind of hard to navigate through the content ID or the claims process because YouTube doesn't have, well, in my opinion, when I was going through it, it didn't provide that much information because, like, for me, what part of it is it infringing so that I can change it, and that way it's compliant with the claim, right, with the copyright, well, with not being copyright. And they don't provide that much information, so there is a risk that it can happen in the future, not voluntarily, but because if you don't provide what is that is wrong, you can't fix it. So this was my temporary fix, making this new video, but it does take time to kind of circumnavigate, and it doesn't deal with the issue. What are you doing, YouTube? What are you doing? And for Universal Pictures Global, what are you doing? What do you have doing this? I mean, come on. Alright, ranting aside, if you have any thoughts or any comments on the Jurassic Park, go ahead. I myself am excited to do more of, reviewing the rest of the franchise. Not just the Jurassic Park, but maybe also the Jurassic World. And right now there's only 2 movies, but still. I will be getting back to some of the other series that I haven't finished. Just because of I forgot, and now that I'm finished with The Pastures, there's some playing to do. Alright, so any thoughts, comments, go right ahead. And YouTube, or UP Volvo, if you are listening, what are you doing? This is not the way to do it. Alright, anyways, see you later.